Biju, camera on. Irina, camera on, please. Ananta, what do you want to get from this seminar today? Okay. Are we starting formally now? Then I'll be quiet. I'll let you start. If you have to do some formal announcement, go ahead.
Okay, sir. So, a very good evening to one and all present here. Hope everyone had a lovely day. Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, often abbreviated as SOTL, is an essential discipline with academia that focuses on understanding and improving the teaching and learning process. It goes beyond the traditional notion of teaching as a one way transmission of knowledge and instead seeks to create an environment that fosters active learning, critical thinking, and student engagement. The scholarship of teaching and learning is a dynamic and transformative discipline that empowers educators to critically examine their teaching practices and continuously improve the learning experience for their students. By embracing this scholarly approach, we become active participants in shaping the future of education. So let's know more about the topic from today's seminar. So, to have an auspicious beginning to our session, I would like to invite Dr. Lisha Paul, Vice Chair, IEEE EDSA Kerala Chapter, for the welcome address. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening to one and all. Respected expert lecturer, Dr. Nalin, Sharda, Live Senior Member, IEEE Education Society Lead Cloud Instructor, EDSOC Chair, Varghese Sir, then EDSOC Secretary Anil Sir, and all Exicom members and coordinators of the program and dear participants. With great pleasure, I welcome you all to this webinar on Scholarship of Teaching and Learning organized by EDSOC Kerala chapter. And teaching and learning are the two main components of education system. The scholarship of teaching and learning is an essential area of research in the field of education. It aims to improve teaching and learning practices by using research methods to investigate and analyze classroom practices, student learning, and the effectiveness of teaching interventions. The goal is to enhance teaching effectiveness, student learning outcomes, and overall educational quality. On behalf of IEEE EDSOC Kerala chapter, let me extend a wholehearted welcome you, sir, to this webinar.
Thank you.
Also welcome EDSOC Chair and Secretary Anil Sir and all Exicom members to this webinar. I am happy to see so many are joined today from various parts, and I welcome all participants to this program. Once again, thank you for joining us today, and I hope you find this webinar informative and valuable. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And now, to introduce the speaker, I welcome Dr. Ansar SM, Research Activities Chair, IEEE EDSA Kerala Chapter. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Respected dignitaries, volunteers of IEEE Education Society, volunteers of IEEE Kerala section, respected chair of IEEE Education Society, secretary, Execo members, renowned chief guest of the day, Dr. Nalin Sharda. Dr. Nalin Sharda is a distinguished professor in the field of multimedia and internet communications at the School of Computer Science and Mathematics, Victoria University, Melbourne. He holds a BTech and a PhD degree from the renowned Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. With an illustrious career spanning academia and industry, Dr. Sharda has made significant contributions to the field. He is the author of numerous publications, including the widely acclaimed textbook, Multimedia Information Networking. His expertise is recognized through his editorial roles in prestigious journals such as the Informing Science Journal, the International Journal of Computers and Applications, the Journal of Multimedia Tools and Applications. Dr. Sharda's research is focused on leveraging the internet and multimedia systems to enhance communication and advance tourism ICT systems. He has developed innovative conceptual models such as the multimedia design and planning pyramid and movement oriented design, revolutionizing the integration of art, science, and technology in multimedia systems. Throughout his career, Dr. Sharda has collaborated with esteemed institutions worldwide, including the University of Melbourne, RMIT University, and the Defence Science and Technology Organization. He has also fostered partnerships with academic institutions and ICT industries in Australia and abroad. As a mentor, Dr. Sharda has supervised over 30 master's and PhD projects, shaping the next generation of researchers and professionals in the field. He is a life senior member and one of the renowned distinguished lecturers of the IEEE Education Society, member of ACM, and a member of International Federation for IT, Travel and Tourism. We are honored to have Dr. Nalin Sharda here today and eagerly anticipate his insightful talk on scholarship of teaching and learning, what it is, why, and how to do it. With all due respect, on behalf of IEEE Education Society Student Chapter, we extend a warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you, sir, for gracing us with your presence. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Wow, that was a very extended introduction. I don't know where did you pick up all that. I didn't send it to you. Maybe you searched the internet and got some stuff. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for this wonderful welcome. And I'm so pleased to see that you people have already in the introduction talked about scholarship of teaching and learning. You have already done some your basic understanding research about it, and that is very important before attending any lecture seminar, so that you are prepared mentally to absorb what is to be covered. Of course, I will have to use a PowerPoint, so if I can start sharing that, please. And then, but my request again, I see so many videos not on. Please turn your videos on. I want to see smiling faces, such lovely faces. That gives any speaker strength to make a good presentation. Mhm. So here we go. Let me start sharing. And if at any stage uh, it doesn't go correctly, this sharing is in a very strange way. I have to share. Oh, okay. Hmm. This is the up button, present now. So a window, and that's the PowerPoint. So can you see the PowerPoint? Show me a just physical thumbs up if you can see somebody or more than one. Thank you. So So, as you have already mentioned, today we are going to look at what is scholarship of teaching and learning, why should we do it, how to do it, etc. And I will cover it's showing in a strange way. Maybe that's a bit better. Now I can't see you. Let me move the screen where you guys are so I can look on the side and see your faces. So, what I'm going to cover, as I said, not just as a lecture, I'll talk about my journey. As you have introduced me, I've done electrical engineering degree. How did I get into scholarship of teaching and learning? And then I'll talk about what it is, why we should do it, and how to do it. And I'll talk a little bit about innovative pedagogy and some main sources where I have got the information and conclusions and references so that you can proceed further if you want to. And I hope some of you do. So, while a lot of introduction has been given about me, but look, after doing my BTech and then PhD from IIT Delhi, came to Australia in '84 and then worked at Curtin Uni, then Murdoch Uni, and then for almost 25 years at Victoria Uni, and as visiting professor at Florida Atlantic, USA, Karlstad University in Sweden, Aachen University in Germany, and JP Private University in India as well. During this process, originally while I was doing normal engineering oriented parallel processing type of research, and then I moved over to when multimedia came in. I was always interested in new areas. I remember when in a staff meeting said, "Oh, we are hearing about this thing called multimedia. We should find out what it is." And the old saying is, if you raise the question, you have to do it. I was told, yeah, go find out. And then I created courses in multimedia, and you pointed out, I wrote that textbook, one of the first in the world, Multimedia Information Networking, combining multimedia and networking. But much later, after all this, once I was talking to a dean and he talked about scholarship of teaching and learning. I said, I don't do that. He said, why not? You're an academic. And I'm always up for a new challenge. And that's when I said, I will explore what it is. Hmm. So I didn't attend any lecture, but I read papers about it. I went around and then, in fact, some of my invitations, particularly to Germany, were to collaborate in research related to scholarship of teaching and learning. And then my later publications have been extensively in this area rather than purely technical publications. While I was doing technical research as well, applying IT to tourism. So I edited the tourism informatics textbook. And before that, having finished almost 23 years ago, multimedia information networking, which is out of date. Don't use it as a textbook anymore. Some people keep using in Malaysia, and I'm surprised. So, where does scholarship of teaching and learning come from? What it is? It was popularized in 1990s by Ernst Boyer, saying that just teaching well is not good enough. And I'll be frank, luckily, I've always had good feedback from my students. So that was my feeling. I'm teaching well. Why do I need to dig into it? How to do it better? But when I did some further study, I realized no, there is so much more to be found. And I did have questions in my mind about how to improve my teaching. Is it the methodology I'm adopting, is it correct for my students? And there is a wide variety of students. In Australia, I taught a lot of students who came from India, international students, and around the world, and local students. Is the same methodology good enough for both of them? Both, or not both, different type of students. Well, two in terms of international and local students. So, scholarship of teaching and learning implores you to approach your teaching as a research topic and find new ways of doing your teaching. While there is no single definition, there can be different approaches we can adopt. But one thing is common, like all research, it entails using or asking the W questions: what, when, where, why, and how. And how, the W is at the end, but still it's a W question. For example, how does active learning in large classrooms influence students' comprehension of the lecture? Does online discussion improve student understanding? What do writing and assignments contribute to students? Especially, you can go in more deeply. What type of assignment? Hmm? Which location and configuration of the classroom is best? Is this old classroom? Probably all of you, including me, have sat in classrooms looking like this. Is this the best classroom setting? Is anybody else using a different setting in the classroom? Anybody raise your hand, open your mic and tell me, is anybody changed the way the classroom is set up?
When in certain circumstances, no, we used to opt outside under the tree shade and all.
Oh, wow. That's like Gurukul. Wonderful. I had never done that. But I was so lucky. I studied in a Sardar Patel Vidyalaya in Delhi. And one of our teachers, when he came, he immediately changed the classroom setting from like this, putting 4 or 5 people together in groups, work, doing group work, etc. Now, when I teach online, we break people into breakout rooms and ask them to do discussions in breakout rooms online, and it's very effective. So, what is the most effective way of doing a particular type of teaching? And this is a very interesting story. Uh, when I was writing a paper and then making this presentation, it came up, and I have always use it. From Minsk to Pinsk. It's an old story that there was this old man with a very old horse in a cart, and he took people to go over a hill. But every time the hill became too steep, everybody had to get off from the cart and they had to push the cart and take the horse over and then hitch him back. And in the end, somebody said, can you please tell me the reason why we are bringing the horse along? Because we're all the time having to push the cart ourselves. I don't know how many of you had to push. When I was young, we had to push start cars and buses. I don't know if you still do it back home. Hmm? So, is scholarship of teaching and learning a bit like that? Oh, I would just teach well. You don't have to worry about it. So, you have to be clear in your mind that there is a genuine purpose behind scholarship of teaching and learning. You're not doing it just for the sake of doing it. And ultimately, our aim is to benefit students and even academics. Reducing, academics are always overworked, reducing the workload on them, unnecessary assignment marking. And one of the biggest challenges today for academics is going to be, any guess what I'm thinking of? This AI system called Chat GPT.
Generative AI.
So, how are you going to make sure the students have done the assignment themselves? Already over the last few years, we were worried if they have plagiarized, if they have paid people to do their assignment, etc. So, how are we going to overcome this issue? While one of the things where I teach now cloud computing is we are teaching you do not write code from zero up. You grab code which is available on the web and you modify it to your purpose. Is that plagiarism? Is that okay? And we are saying, yes, that's the way you're going to improve your productivity in software development rather than starting coding from beginning. Yeah. Today only in my lecture, I showed them my SDK 85, which I used for my PhD in late 70s, early 80s. We're not going to use that machine code programming. We won't reach anywhere. So what is the right thing to do? That's what we need to determine. Yeah. I'm happy to take any questions anytime. You can raise your hand and I'll be happy to answer your question rather than me talking on and on. So, why should we look into this? There are 3 P's: professionalism, pragmatism, and policy issues. Professionalism, because if we are academics and we are educators and we have PhDs, most of us, if we are academics, it is part of our profession to do this investigation. Pragmatism, meaning being pragmatic, we need to constantly improve to meet the objectives of our teaching job. Get more for less. Students don't have attention. How to capture their attention? How to keep them attentive throughout the class? And there might be policy issues. There is legislation, there are government regulations, markets. Education has become a marketplace today. You are competing with others. Are you doing as well as your competitor? So, how are you going to find all that? And scholarship of teaching and learning is not just one. You can be style learning. You can do different types of research. Ultimate aim is to improve learning and improve the teaching methodology as well. You could be doing discovery, basic, pure research for its own sake. We talk about research in general, pure research. Integration to make connections across disciplines. And I think making these connections is very important to produce students who have a wider perspective of the world, not just the narrow perspective of their discipline. Application, how we apply theory to practice. We do practical work, but still sometimes the practical work is what was created decades ago. Is it applicable to the industry today? How are we going to investigate that? And to solve some complex problems of teaching, and we have plenty of those as a teacher, we know. So, challenge your assumptions and raise questions. That's the first thing. Do not accept status quo. This is how it has been done. This is how we will keep doing in the future. So, what process you follow? Frame a question, and I will share with you questionnaire. And I run when I do this generally when I've done it at universities face to face. Run a workshop after this, but that is best done face to face, physically together rather than online. I have never done it online so far. Maybe I can try. Gather, analyze evidence, reflect on your current practice, explore what can improve. And when you have new ideas, you need to test and refine them. Conduct experiments like we conduct scientific experiments. You need to conduct pedagogical experiments. And then draw conclusions and publish. Publishing is very important. So, what can you start with? Hmm? Start with what bothers you. Is anybody ready to share with me some question that has been bothering them about their teaching practice? I bet there must be something.
To catch the attention of the students perpetually while teaching, what to be
Yes, that's
found.
always a problem, keeping them engaged. So I'm sure all of you are using some methodologies. I remember many years ago, 25 plus years ago, I went for an interview to another university within Australia, and they asked me, "What techniques do you use?" And I never thought of what I was doing had any technique to it. I said, "No, I don't know any technique, but I make sure I face my students, I talk to them, I have so that I have full attention." They said, "Yeah, that's a good technique." So I wasn't using the term technique for what I was doing, but yeah, it can be classified as a technique. Hmm. So think of what technique you are using, what is working, what is not working. Work out what you are going to do, who it will impact for student active participation. Identify what you need to find out, and how will you find out that your research has got any positive effect? If you make a change to your process of teaching, how do you make sure that it is having a positive impact? So we need to conduct like we conduct valid scientific physical experiments, electrical experiments. Similarly, we need to find out how to conduct these experiments. And some of us who are coming from engineering background, coming from IEEE, I'm assuming most of you have an engineering background. Yeah, is that correct? Just a quick shake of hand, etc. Is there anybody from psychology or such disciplines here? I doubt you are. Okay. So you might, people who have done studies in other areas like psychology may be aware of how to conduct such research, but engineers have never been trained to do that. So you need to invest time to learn how to do that. And of course, publishing is important to share the knowledge you have gained.
Yes, sir. I am experiencing it for the past several years because I am doing research on engineering education
Okay.
from an engineering background. Yeah,
Oh, very
basically, I
good.
am applied
Uh,
electronics and instrumentation. Right now, in engineering education, doing PhD in IIT Madras. So I can relate exactly what you are saying.
Okay, I'm glad to hear this. So, Bashish ji, thank you for sharing that. And I'm very happy for anybody to share anything like that at any time, make it more interactive.
And sir, I have research background in learning analytics, and I have been investigating the technology enhanced learning since almost 8 years. So
Wow.
I am very much into active learning and active teaching. So I can relate word by word to you.
Oh, that's so good to know. That's why I want face to face interaction. Now I know there are people genuinely interested.
So I was
And
in
this,
I was in Estonia, and I was considering their educational system, and I investigated the educational system of Estonia for almost 7 years.
okay. And is there something worth learning from their education system?
Of course, sir, there are many. There are many. Actually, the main problem that I have found out that the teacher training for the
Mm,
existing teacher and the pre-service teacher, these are the major components from the digital competencies are missing in India. So, for
mm,
example, we want to integrate ICT in our daily teaching and learning, but actually,
mm.
our teachers have never been formally trained about how to integrate ICT.
Yes.
They are
And
using the Facebook and WhatsApp to integrate in the classroom, but they don't know the side effects of integrating Facebook and WhatsApp because the students you cannot track.
say, there you go. So I'm very glad to hear that you are exploring these ideas. And Mr. Shashikant, I'm very happy to hear, read your name because my middle name is also Kant. My full name is Nalin Kant Sharda,
Sir,
which I
I'm
rarely
so glad.
use.
Thank you.
Okay,
Sir,
good.
then technology teachers normally they come out after doing BTech, MTech, and PhD. They don't have the slightest input from psychology or behavioral sciences. That's causing a
Yes,
lot of hell of a problem for the technology
yes,
teachers.
yes. And that's why I'm glad you people are running this seminar, and hopefully it's just a starting point, and all of you who are already involved in this area should be spreading the word and letting more technology teachers understand in whole of India, Kerala, wherever you can, your influence can extend. Good to know that. So coming back, I'm glad to have this little break, getting back to the PowerPoint. So, what can we use? Research design methods are such as portfolios and other reflective tools, interviews, focus groups. And again, people who do psychological research, they are very used to it. Engineers are not. Observational research. One of my research scholars, her PhD was uh, the effectiveness of digital storytelling in improving school maths learning, and it was all observational. She had created a storytelling based model, and one group of students were using it, one was not using it, and observing them, taking down notes, how much engaged they are, and a very formal methodology of doing that for that PhD. Questionnaires, you give people questionnaires. Content analysis, what people have done, you analyze that. Secondary analysis, analysis of analysis. Experiments, case studies, multimodal methods. So there are a whole plethora of methodologies that need to be adopted, and for the type of research you are doing. Today we can't go into full detail. It's given in my PowerPoint, which I can share. Hmm. So what happens in portfolio are the reflective tools I gave you very quickly, but expansion is there in these slides. You're welcome to read this in your own time. Okay, so I'll skip through these. I'll just briefly introduce these topics. Now, I've added here teaching and learning quotes, which I loved. One child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world. Malala Yousafzai. I hope all of you know who Malala is. I never teach my pupils. I only attempt to provide the conditions in which they can learn. Albert Einstein. Seek opportunity to show you care. One of the most important things, not going and just delivering lecture. The smallest gesture often makes the biggest difference. John Wooden, I didn't know who he is, but very now. J. Krishnamurti, I hope you've heard of him. Real learning comes about when the competitive spirit has ceased. It's inquisitiveness, learning. Everybody who is incapable of learning has taken to teaching. Oscar Wilde, I'd heard these things before, but I want to challenge that. No, maybe he didn't have a good teacher. Good teachers are not those who couldn't get another job. And I'll share with you, I had the highest paying graduate job after IIT Delhi BTech with the Schlumberger company. And I left that to go back to do PhD at IIT Delhi. And even my Professor Indra Sen, who became director of IIT Madras later on, he said, Nalin, you are a bloody fool to have left Schlumberger job. And I share with all my students, I am the happiest man. I have enjoyed my life because teaching, I love doing teaching. I enjoyed my job with Schlumberger for a few years, but could see I won't enjoy it for the rest of my life. Yeah. So I'm sure all of you are becoming teachers because you love teaching. So neglect people like these. Mm. Aristotle said, those who know, they do it. Those that understand, they teach. And I've made my own. A good teacher should be an expert at learning and then transforming that learning and transmitting that knowledge. So, if you are doing that, and how to transmit that knowledge is about scholarship of teaching and learning. Hmm. If you look at these pyramids, we know in information systems, we say data is at the bottom. We percolate that, becomes information, then knowledge, then wisdom. Similarly, we start with Gyan. I'm sure all of you understand this much Sanskrit. As we go up, we get to Vigyan, which means Vishesh Gyan, special Gyan. And ultimate is Param Gyan. I hope we all achieve that. That can be very spiritual too, but it's beyond just giving information to students. That's what I'm trying to convey here. Is making them understand the importance of knowledge and transmission of knowledge. That's part of the job of a good teacher. Hmm? Now, what are the different innovative pedagogies? Some of this I don't know if you are using. At my Victoria University, we moved towards problem based learning over the last decades or more. Have you heard of PBL? Yeah. Peer learning. One of the best learning is learning from your friends. We all do it, that we sit together and learn. Now, where I teach, at the very beginning, I make online peer learning groups. And it is so helpful, they all tell me later on. They ask each other problems. I emphasize, don't come to me straight away for small problems. Ask each other, learn to solve the problems together. Story-based learning. Storytelling is such a powerful method. And all our traditional Indian teaching by gurus was based on stories. Our Puranas, every story has a message, a learning, including technical knowledge, which I missed out because I didn't learn Sanskrit. I'm learning now how deep knowledge is embodied in our old granthas. And I'm very happy to know some people, younger people, are now exploring that, and I'll listen to their podcasts and learn from that. Hmm. So, even traditional Plato, Aristotle, one-to-one teaching used to go from teacher to student. But why did we move away from that? Because last 200 years, when we had industrial revolution, we were doing production line. It has its benefits. We all can afford cars. If they were made one at a time, we couldn't afford it. And we thought we could train people in production line. And that's what most of us have gone through. Everybody in the class has to do the same course, the same subject, the same test, the same assignment, isn't it? Is that the most effective method? Hmm? Particularly STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths is falling behind. I'm hearing even in India, to some extent. In countries like Australia and Western countries, it is far behind. In my university, you need higher marks to join a cricket academy course rather than computer science course. So, because Australians are cricket mad, the sports department at Victoria University is internationally recognized, get admission in their courses, and all they do is play games and learn about psychology of games and all that. And you need higher marks to get into admission in that. Hmm? So, what's the problem with this purely lecture based education? We lack emotional content. I have always tried to make emotional connection with my audience, students, or like you. I'm not happy. I'm repeated so many times. I want to see faces. I want to make that emotional connection with you, my audience, not just deliver the lecture. Yeah. And so sometimes what we teach is disconnected from the real world, and we assume one size fits all. So all of these issues need to be tackled to improve our education worldwide. We need to turn STEM towards STEAM. What is the A in STEAM? Arts. What we call arts, unfortunately, in India, from my times, if somebody is doing an arts degree, they are nobody. I don't know if it has changed at all now, isn't it?
It has changed so
Terrible
much, sir. So much changes, sir.
change.
Yeah.
Very good. I'm happy to hear that. In countries like US, there were always what they call breadth subject. You had to do some other subjects, not from your discipline. And that is very important for people to become creative.
Sir,
And
NEP
therefore,
2020, that's new education policy, new national education policy that promotes arts education with the science education, in fact, interdisciplinary education.
I am so happy to hear that. Thank you. So I'm learning from you about these facts, which I'm not otherwise aware of. So I have been applying digital storytelling based learning, and I just mentioned I supervise research scholars in that area. And how did I come to that? From very young age, I wanted to write stories, but I was never good at it. I was always I had to do my class, normal engineering. It's in the year 2020 when I said I have to learn how to do story writing. I went and attended classes how to write story writing, how to write film scripts. I have written stories, dramas, film scripts, some of them which have won awards in local competitions by going and studying what is the method of doing that. And then I applied that to education, digital storytelling. And I mentioned my invitation to Germany was because they were also working in that domain. Game based learning, drama based learning. I will very shortly share a very brief drama. Very briefly, I will share a drama I wrote about teaching logarithms. So, and you can think of many more. And now these are becoming popular internationally. I have talked to other academics in India. By all means, I'll be very happy anybody who wants to collaborate in this area to work with you. And why this is important, you know, it's not that we psychologists talk about left and right brain. It doesn't mean we divide it into two. It means we have a logical brain, which we often call the left brain, and we have the emotional brain, which we call the right brain. What we need to do is increase the interaction between the two. You need to have moments when you are just imagining, daydreaming. But when the idea comes, don't just if you just think in the air, it will vanish in the air. Immediately make a habit of noting down in a diary what the idea was. And I have seen I get the best, especially story writing ideas, when I'm half asleep in bed, lying down, and the ideas come. There is something about that state in of your mind. If you don't have a diary to note down something next morning, I had a good idea, but I don't remember what it was. So you have to make that connection between left and right brain. Imagine, then put it down, then analyze it. And in that sense, what I call edurama, educational drama, is something I have been working on, trying to create this connection between left and right brain. And here is the example of I will not read it word by word. I'll give you the gist. The idea is, All of you have studied logarithms. When I taught data communication, every time I'd ask my students, did you study logarithms? Yes. Do you remember? No. Aussie students are very poor in maths. Nobody would remember. That's why I took this one. I would teach them. That's another thing. I would teach them logarithms in a way they'll never forget, because I used to challenge them that my daughter, when she was in grade 3, I taught her this way and she never forgot, though she doesn't want to admit anymore. So this is to log or not to log. I put a setting in a cafe, gave names alpha, beta, gamma, theta, pi to different characters, and the whole story goes in a way where I've tried to make connection between the logarithm and real life's aspects. Some of them are about Australian way Australians talk, and some of them are a little naughty, so that it creates interest in the people. You'll have to read it in a detail. So dialogue is going on between various uni students, and the idea is if they play, hopefully by the end of the drama, even if they don't fully understand. One of the things people ask me, some technical subjects is very difficult to see how you can write in a drama. It doesn't mean that you turn the formula into a drama necessarily, but you create interest in the formula. Why is this formula applicable? Where can I apply it? What is the real life application? We talk about it in even the classes also, but can you put it in a form? And I know, I personally remember things, when my children, they are grown up, they introduce to their friends. I sit down and I talk to them. Oh, where did you study? What is your favorite food? I will remember them if I know all those things. If I just, somebody gives me a name, I will not remember that. This is associative memory. We all, most of us are like that. Only few people have photographic memory, meet only once and never forget. So I'm not going to read. You can see I've used Dustin Hoffman, an actor, in between somewhere. And a little bit of this is a play on the word of the how New Zealanders pronounce. They pronounce I as E. So there is a confusion here. You can read on your own. I don't know if you heard about it. Persian scholar algorithmy. Have you all heard about algorithmy? Tried to introduce that? No? So he was the word algorithm, I thought might have heard, comes from Algorithmi, a Persian scholar who helped to translate our Indian number system into Persian, which went to Europe through him. So we can write dramas like this and students play. Here I try to use a crown, the power represented by the crown on the king's head, etc. And I'm not reading word by word. So making those connections. We are coming to 45 minutes. So now I will try to wind up. What I'm trying to show is, when I run a workshop, if you want, I can give you those documents. You can sit down together, even if I'm not there. One of you can run the workshop. You sit down, people in a group of 4 or 5, and think about their questions. All of us, if we are teachers, would have questions. What these are? What are the objectives if you get into this research? What do you want to improve? Student learning outcomes, student attention, Mr. Anil said. Something else, overall grades you want to improve, or you want to reduce burden on yourself about marking assignments without reducing the student learning outcomes. Is there a way to do it? And what approach you will use? So when I ran the workshop, people sit down, first do this individually. Then one of the things, it's a good to make a group who will do this research together. So they sit down together in the group, they share their same questions and objectives, approaches, and hopefully they select one. All right, 3, 4 of us, let us collaborate on doing this research. And then research will start. I know if you leave to individuals, it will die out. The interest might die out. So that's something you can do. If I get the opportunity to come to India sometime, which I probably will do early next year, I'll be very happy to come down and run such workshops and initiate research in this area. Yeah. So, what type of future work you can do? If you read this play, maybe it will trigger some ideas. You can write plays, test the efficacy of these plays as a PhD project, somebody doing PhD. Comic style picture books have become quite popular. Why can't we use that for teaching STEM subjects, generating interest in STEM subjects, and collaborate, bring in with STEM arts teachers and pedagogy researchers together to conduct this research? And I'm already seeing some of you are in that area. Cross fertilization is important. And here I'm sharing. I'm very happy. My email is very simple, Nalin Sharda. I hope anybody who sees can remember that, at gmail.com. Anybody wants further communication, feel free. Go and meet me on LinkedIn. You can send a message on LinkedIn. With God's grace, so far, there is no other Nalin Sharda in the world, or on the web at least. So if you Google Nalin Sharda, or you look on LinkedIn, you'll find me. So I'm very happy to connect. And if you want to do further research, I gave this at another university in North, and somebody is continuing their research initiated. I'm not going to read it. This is recognizing from where I have got my content, main content. Of course, there are a whole lot of other references which I will share. So my main conclusion is that to enhance our STEM education, we turn it into STEAM, and the future should be emotionally charged education, not boring education, pure lecture. Sitting under the banyan tree is a very good idea. You're getting more oxygen to begin with. So, with that, I open it to any questions anybody has. Any comments are also welcome. All the references are there. Yeah. Please feel free to raise your hand, or I will stop sharing so that I can see more people, and that will tell me that so many of you still do not have. At least now, everybody either open your video or please log off.
We need to take a photograph, so everybody should open your video, please.
And if you are shy, then you must tell somebody. Open your, I'm gonna name Anna Johnny, Binzi Sundar, Rohini Krishna, Gauri Prakash, Agna John, Ameya Arul. Ananta, you're still there? Ananta, you're up there. You got to. Aishar Varghese, Aditya PS, Aiden. I'm calling you out. It means if you're not opening your video, you're not there. You're just cheating. Is there anybody here to get some IEEE points? Then they don't get points. Is anybody here? Is there anything like that? People have to collect some points by attending seminars?
No, sir.
Why are
There is no such
no
point.
such thing? Okay.
No
All right.
points. No point.
Okay. No point. Well, the photo is going to look very bad. Mr. V. Vashne, Anjana B, Devika Asok, where are you? Swati Vijayan. And 27 others. Oh my God. Attendance is quite big. But what is this? Why are people so shy of their video? On Facebook, everybody want to post every breakfast they have.
Guys, please turn on your camera. It's really bad when a guest is asking us to turn on your camera for so
Even
long.
after I'm calling you by name.
Yeah.
Vivian, thank you. Bibin, Matthew.
So pleasant a guest who call everybody by their names and asking, requesting them to turn on the camera. Why turning a no negative face to the guest speaker?
Ashwarya, thank you. How are you? How did you like the seminar? You can open your
It's
mic.
okay.
Are you a student or a teacher?
Yes, I'm a student. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a
So how
BTech first year student.
so how do you see this seminar being relevant to you?
I it was not much relevant to me actually, but to my teachers, I maybe I can help them.
Okay, yes, your contribution will be very important. That's an important point you have made. Without your help, when your teachers want to conduct research, they need your active participation. So that's a very good point you have made. Thank you. Hello, Aiden, Sharian. How about you? Huh? After I called you, you turned your video off. I thought you would like to talk. Okay. All right. We are, I think, towards the fag end. Anybody else? Any question? Any comment? Agna John, thank you for your video on. How did you find it? How's it gonna help you?
I really wish if my teachers were to a part of this webinar, it would really help them. And
Okay.
when told that the importance of emotional connection between the teachers and the students, I believe it's really relevant these days because
Yeah.
I had an experience in which the first day when the teacher came in, he told us that after the class there is no connection between us,
Oh,
be it personal or emotional. So I felt it like really awkward. Why is he speaking like that? So
oh
I believe
no.
it's really important connection between teachers and students.
No teacher
Uh,
has ever said that to me. I remember my teachers from school, from uni, had such great connections with them. So I might say, that person, please come in touch with me, get in touch with me. Why you don't want to have emotional connection with your students? That's the best thing. That's why
yeah,
I'm
so
a
I,
teacher.
Sir, I think it is a very
Yeah,
important point which Agna made because
yeah.
see, last we usually have many such webinars. Most of them are fully technical, and we had more than 150 participants. Right now, the participants, even though there are participation, the participation is somewhat less as compared to purely technical seminars. So,
Right.
in my opinion, when it is related to scholarship of teaching and learning, even we can see how many teachers are there. I think there are so many students, but the
Yeah,
teachers still
are
they are
not there.
thinking like it is not required for them. I don't know, sir.
Yes, I know, I know. I shared. I originally did not think it was important for me till a dean pointed out to me, and after that I got hooked to it. And my last 10 years plus has been in this area only, because
Yes, sir.
luckily I love the teaching side of my
Especially
life.
we engineering teachers, because
Yeah.
I think we are good at technology, so we know all those things. Why we should attend that? That is the basic attitude.
Yes, I know people have that attitude. So, people, your students, those who are attending, go and tell your teacher, I attended this seminar. You missed it, sir or ma'am. I wish you were there. Will you be able to do that? Are you open enough like that? If not that lecturer, some other lecturers? How is the relationship between teachers and lecturers in general?
Some of the
Very
teachers are
formal?
known and
Yeah.
they are not approachable, sir. That is a great
Mm.
problem for the student community. Approachability of teachers to students, no, that is very less.
Therefore, this is required at top level from the directors of the institutes coming down, having to attend. I'll share one example, not in this area, in project management. Many years ago, our dean said, you guys, you do research projects, but in general, he said, you don't know how to manage projects. I'm going to call a specialist to do a certificate in project management and it'll be free for you. I attended immediately. It was so good. Now I have taught project management at uni level many times, and I share with them, especially I share every time the topic of risk comes in. When I used to write grant proposal, they would ask, what is the risk? And I did not understand. I would say, no, no risk, give me the money, I can do the project. But I didn't understand the meaning of risk. Risk is based on factors outside your control, like rain, earthquake, etc. Now I understand by attending that seminar. So sometimes, till we go through some induction training, we don't even understand its importance. So it needs to come from top down little bit. Everybody may not be convinced, but there may be those people like me. Once my dean told me, Nalin, it is an important area, you should be doing it. And I explored, and I'm now giving lectures in that area. So, anything else I can share?
Sir,
I'm very
regarding
happy
the
to.
induction training,
Yeah,
sorry, sir, yeah, regarding the induction training,
yeah.
so we have been talking about this teacher training for engineering education.
Hmm.
So can you please elaborate what is the status there in Australia,
Ah,
and how we can what we can learn from that, or how we can have a formal teacher training program for all who completed PhDs in engineering, or can it be made mandatory, or some at least some 3 4
yeah.
induction training, then only teaching, how it will work from the top
I
from
will
top.
agree there should be teacher training. Now, I'll share with you. In Australia, they started talking about 25 years ago, and obviously every academic was resistant to it. I've been teaching for so many years. Why should I have to do another training, etc.? But a lot of them really needed that training. Now, not for higher education, but for technical education, you have to have a certificate for in training and assessment, which includes what we call, what in India we call like ITI or similar technical training. In Australia, we call it TAFE, technical and further education. You can't be a TAFE teacher till you have done certificate for in training and assessment. But it has not been made mandatory for higher education because, again, most people are resistant to change. So I don't have a direct this thing, but I definitely think it's required. Any other comment, suggestion, question? Well, in that case, shall we wind up?
Is there any other doubts or any other questions? I hope there's no more questions. So let's move on to the virtual photograph. I invite Mr. Ananthakrishnan to do the honor of clicking the picture for us. So everyone, please turn on your cameras.
Everyone turn on your cameras, please.
Smiling is not essential. It's okay if you don't want to smile, but camera on is required.
Yes.
Okay, everyone, I'm taking the picture. 3, 2, 1, smile.
Okay, thank you everyone. And the feedback form will be shared in the chat box after the vote of thanks. And the certificate will be distributed based on it. So kindly remember to fill it out. So now, as a token of appreciation from our side, we would like to present Dr. Nalin Sharda a virtual memento. For that, I would like to invite Mr. Ananthakrishnan to share the screen and present the virtual memento.
I like this. It was happening in another session I attended as well. Oh, so beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And now let's move on to the vote of thanks. For that, let's welcome Engineer M. Anil, Secretary IEEE Education Society, Kerala chapter, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dia. It's a contingency plan, like Dr. Yuvraj was to deliver a vote of thanks. Dear Dr. Respected Nalin Sharda sir, Executive Committee members of IEEE Education Society Kerala chapter, my dear student leadership team members, my dear students who have attended this wonderful webinar, I should say. In fact, at the outset, I would like to thank the speaker of the day, speaker of the evening, Dr. Nalin Sharda, for the seamless interaction that he had with the students, with all the audience. In fact, that was, this is the first time I'm seeing such a quality interaction from an expert speaker. Thank you so much, sir, for the interaction, and thank you so much for the wonderful session you had engaged. We had, I think when next time and next year you propose to come to India, we would like to have a workshop, in fact, an offline workshop in Kerala by Dr. Nalin Sharda. When you reach India, we'd be very glad to host that. And thank you so much for the wonderful session today. And it is late night as per Melbourne time. It is almost 12 midnight. And thank you so much for your wakeful state of being in delivering the address. And thank you so much. Thank you very much. And thank you for the interaction, Professor Subish, who has he's actually doing research in educational technology. Then Dr. Lisha Babu, Vice Chair, for delivering the welcome address. Then Dr. Ansar for introducing the expert speaker. And last but not least, I want to thank the SLT team, the student organizers, and the students who have attended the program. You made the event successful event, and the interaction that expert faculty had with the students and other participants was tremendous, and the camaraderie that our Dr. Nalin Sharda has depicted. He has exemplified. That was very nice. Long live that.
Thank you very much for the invitation and all your kind words. Individually, I'm not thanking, but collectively, you've done a great job. And it's an area, not just because I'm lecturing, it's an area which we just discussed is very much required to improve our engineering education. Yeah, so I'll be very happy I have been throughout India, east up to Assam and northeast up to Kashmir, but I haven't been to God's own country yet. So it will be a great opportunity to visit Kerala. When I come early next year, possibly, I'll keep in touch and I'll be very happy to run a workshop.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Good night. Sayonara. Shubhratri. Shabba Khair. Anything else? Somebody is here?
Shubhratri, sir.
I'm logging off.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. നല്ല വർക്ക്ഷോപ്പ് അല്ലേ?
sir.
ഓക്കെ സാർ, നന്നായിരുന്നു.
നല്ലതായിരുന്നു. എന്തോ
നമ്മൾ ശരിക്കും ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് ഇങ്ങനത്തെ വർക്ക്ഷോപ്പുകളാണ്. ബീങ് എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ സൊസൈറ്റി നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് ഇതാണ്. ടീച്ചിങ് ആൻഡ് ലേണിംഗ്. വി ഷുഡ് കണ്ടക്ട് മോർ സച്ച്. പക്ഷേ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ നമ്മളെ പാർട്ടിസിപ്പേഷൻ ആസ് കമ്പയർഡ് ടു അതേഴ്സ്
was poor. Yes, participation. In fact, now our technical workshops, technical seminars had even participation level up to 130, 135. But today only half of that was present. Exactly. So that way, participation level it is less, and the major beneficiary of the today's session it ought to be teachers. Now that teachers, they didn't attend at all. Most of the teachers who are in the teaching profession, they didn't attend.
Sir, next time we can do one thing. Last time we sent emails to all engineering college principals. So I think principals, through principals, more participation may come. So we have a mail list. I will forward it to you. Next time, if any such program comes, we can send it to all engineering colleges.
So that teachers can be forced to attend rather, no? Then the head of the institution says they will attend.
Something like a top-down approach only will work, I think. Even I was pointing out the same. See, if the teacher training is not mandatory, nobody
is going to do that. Yes. Some policy is required, forceful policy rather.
Exactly. In my opinion, even in my thesis, I'm going to suggest it. That,
I know it's better to have that.
After PhD, there should be a mandatory induction program before.
If you want to become in the teaching profession.
Exactly.
That's right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Something.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, Shahan is about to say something. Please, Shahan, please go.
സർ നളിൻ സാറുടെ ക്ലാസ് നല്ലായിരുന്നു. സോ ഞാൻ ഹെർഫെസ്റ്റിലൊക്കെ ഈ സെയിം ടീമിനെ ക്രൂവിനെ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. നേരത്തുള്ള ഓരോ കോർഡിനേഷൻ. സോ കോർഡിനേഷൻ ലൈക്ക് ബെസ്റ്റ് ആയിരുന്നു ഈ ഒരു ഹോസ്റ്റും എല്ലാവരും. അപ്പോ സാറിനെ വെച്ചിട്ട് ഇനി കൂടുതലായിട്ടുള്ള ഏതെങ്കിലും സെഷൻസ് സ്റ്റുഡൻസിനും കൂടി വേണ്ടി ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമോ എന്നുള്ളത്
നമുക്ക് ആലോചിക്കാം മോളെ.
ഓക്കെ സർ, താങ്ക് യു.
ഷഹന ഏത് കോളേജിൽ നിന്നാ മോളെ?
സർ ഞാൻ ക്യുസാറ്റിൽ നിന്നാണ്, കൊച്ചി.
സാറേ അതൊരു വർക്ക്ഷോപ്പ് പോലെ നമുക്ക് നടത്താൻ പറ്റുമെങ്കിൽ നല്ലതാണ്.
നമുക്ക് ഈ SOTL തന്നെ സാറ് വർക്ക്ഷോപ്പ് നടത്താറുണ്ടെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞായിരുന്നു. അപ്പം ദാറ്റ് വർക്ക്ഷോപ്പ് ഈസ് നോർമലി ഡൺ ഇൻ ഓഫ്ലൈൻ and as he has told that he'll be visiting India next year, I think we can have that workshop next year physically.
Sir.
And the presence and the ambience and that, I mean, the feel or that energy flow that we get from the faculty member when he's actually present is tremendous, rather than giving an online lecture or workshop. Even the interaction that we had it online when we had the webinar session online, now we could feel that difference. So suppose if the faculty member is physically present, then that will be, the extent of interaction will be more, and transfer of knowledge, transfer of energy, and all will be very good, high.
ശരിയാണ് സാർ. കാരണം ഇതുകൊണ്ടാണ്, ഇതേ റീസണെ കൊണ്ടാണ് നമ്മളിപ്പോ ഫോഴ്സ്ഫുള്ളി ആരും വീഡിയോ ഓഫ് ചെയ്യുന്നതല്ല. ആ ഒരു ഇന്ററാക്ഷൻ അതേ ലെവലിൽ വരാത്തത്